With Somewhat Mediocre Outdoors. Today we're going to be going over the Hawkeye FishTrax 1C fish finder. We're going to be doing a manual review, so a video going over all aspects of the manual. We're going to have a very long video kind of going over every single feature within the manual, and then we'll also separate the videos and then post them individually so that you can find the exact feature you're looking to work with, and you'll have a video instead of having to read the manual. So the first thing I want to go over is that on the back, in order to get the batteries into your unit, you have 2 thumb screws here. So you just remove the thumb screws and put in your 4 AAA batteries, and then your unit will have power. The next thing to note would be that the plug is a keyed plug, and it does have a nice little O-ring here to keep the water out of the connection. That's for your transducer, so you just find the key on the receiving end of that and then plug it in. Screw down the locking collar to get a tight connection and make sure that that O-ring seals. And there you go. Everything's connected and you're ready to get out on the water. So at the very beginning of the manual, there's some safety information. Important stuff to go over before we dive into this unit. Periodically wipe the face with a dry cloth. Don't use abrasive or solvents on the device, so there's a potential for scratching the screen. The solvents can be harmful as well. Only qualified personnel should perform repairs or servicing not covered within the manual, so make sure you send it in, especially if you're under warranty. That way you don't void that warranty. The LCD used in the product is made of glass. Therefore, it can break when the product is dropped or impacted. So if you hit something with when it's mounted to the kayak or the paddle board, just know that there is a weak point there. Shade the LCD screen during storage. Do not expose LCDs to direct sunlight for extended periods of time. So just be cautious of that. Alright, so the manual starts off by going over the battery installation, which we've already done. The next portion would be with the float and the transducer itself. So it's stating that you should have between 6 to 10 inches from the sensor to the float, and that can vary with different depths. So to achieve your depth between float and sensor, you remove this rubber stopper here and then go to the desired depth and then simply just reinstall the stopper, and it puts tension on that cable and the stopper. That way it doesn't slide when it's out on the water. If you're going to be bank fishing or off of a dock, the manual states that there's an ability to throw the float out. So basically it says hold both the float and the transducer in your hand and then do an underhand toss towards the direction you want it to land. One of the notes in here is to make sure that the excess cable does not become submerged in the water, because there's a potential for entanglement on some of the debris that could be down under the water. Make sure that if you do have a long length of this cable, get like pieces of foam so that you can create a float line by installing the small pieces of foam every 10 inches along the length of it. That way it doesn't drop into the water itself. So you're able to use this in a through-hole configuration, and what I mean by that is on the passenger side of the watercraft. So you have the water, the hull of the watercraft, and then you can put this directly onto that hull. It's stating that the material will either have to be fiberglass or aluminum that does not exceed 1/8 of an inch. And there can't be any air pockets between the transducer and the hull of the boat or whatever you're using. It will not work through wood, plastic, or other composite materials. And they're providing 3 options for you to be able to use this successfully. The first option would be having 0.5 inches of water against the whole bottom and then putting this directly on top of that. The second method would be to coat the face of the sonar with a petroleum jelly, press it against the hole, and then move it in a twisting motion to secure that to the bottom. So petroleum jelly here, the hull of the boat or the watercraft that you're using, pushing down and then moving it side to side to seat it. The third option would be to place the sonar in a plastic bag that is full of water and then place that directly against the hull. So there's only a few buttons on this fish finder. We have the hourglass with the plus here, which acts as the zoom or enter button. We have the V escape button here, which is to escape the menu or a frequency select. Next over here is the menu option, and it also gives you the feature setup as this dual purpose. The power on and off here, and then also screen hold. And then these are your directional arrows for navigating through whatever menu you're looking through. To turn on the fish finder, you just press and hold the power button until the screen lights up. Then it'll load your last screen that you were displaying. To turn it off, it's the same process. Press and hold until it states that it is shutting down. So to enter simulation mode, you push the menu button once, and then you scroll down until you see simulation listed in the menu option. Then you click right on the arrow key and then push escape. You can see the S here states that it is in simulation mode. If you want to take it out of simulation mode, you can repeat the process down to simulator and then click it over to the left for off. So there are 3 different modes available with this fish finder. You have fish finder mode, data mode, and then ice mode with a digital flasher. So the first mode is here. It's the fish finder mode. It measures the overall depth of the water. It depicts the presence of fish in the water column and then shows the bottom contour. So here with the fish symbols is the presence of fish. The bottom here is the contour. We have the depth rating here also listed above. And then we also have the temperature as well. If you select either the right or the left arrow buttons, it'll go to the next setting, which this setting is the data mode, which basically takes the information and displays it larger. So here's the volts battery-wise, the temperature of the water, and then also the depth that you're operating in. Last, we have the flasher mode. This gives you a real-time view of the FishTrax sonar echoes. So compared to the fish finder mode, the flasher shows what's happening below you right at that moment, whether the fish finder mode shows the sonar returns from the past. So it's a historical instead of a real-time like what this is here. On the flasher screen, you can see the surface, the bottom, and blips that are basically the indication echoes. When the fish enters or moves through that cone, so the sonar is constantly putting a cone down and reading within that cone, then a bleep will appear. Generally, the darker the bleep, the longer the fish stayed in the beam. So if you have a dark blip, then the fish is staying in it longer, and then lighter it's not staying in it very long. This mode is also very helpful to allow you to set your bait at the exact depth for the fish finder in the water column, so therefore significantly increasing your catch rate. So this fish finder operates off of two different frequency levels. You have a 200 kilohertz and then an 83 kilohertz, but it also gives you the option to view them both at the same time. So to get to that option, you click the V escape button, and then that'll cycle between, down here you can see the different hertz levels, and then split screen here, you've got both hertz levels will sit at the bottom here, and then back to 200. So for 200, it's showing the minute details, so it provides the best resolution and definition for structure and targets. It will not, however, penetrate as deep as the 83 kilohertz, which is used more for fishing in shallow waters where detail is important. So the 200 kilohertz option is really good for showing the minute details. It provides the best resolution and definition for structures and targets. It does not, however, penetrate as deep as the 83 kilohertz will. So use this method more along like the shallower waters where detail isn't that important. So the 83 kilohertz option has a much greater depth penetration capability, but it does show less definition. So this is more used for deeper waters or in situations where the 200 kilohertz lacks the structural detail at the bottom. And the thing that makes this fish finder really nice is that you have the ability to see both views at the same time. So you have your 83 and your 200 kilohertz. And you can use that data together in order to figure out the best location and depth and contour of the bottom. So it really allows you to take everything available within this unit and then project it on one screen. So this fish finder has a zoom option, which gives you the availability of a more in-depth, higher definition look at the bottom contour and composition of whatever water you're in. It'll enlarge it 2 times than what you're originally looking at. So in order to achieve that, you just push the plus button here, and then it'll bring up a zoomed in version of that contour on the bottom. So you're able to see and really pick out different structures. So when you're in the zoom mode, you have the availability to manually zoom in on different features. So like here, it was pretty high on that display window, so you can manually zoom up or down where you want to see the specific feature. So to use the auto zoom feature, you hit the menu button here, make sure that it's in sonar, and then you go down to the depth range, and then you're going to switch that on to auto, which is all the way over to the right. And we'll exit that screen, and then once you're in the zoom mode, it will automatically adjust to the contour that you're trying to look at. So the menu option has 3 different tabs that are labeled up at the top here. You have sonar, and then by selecting the menu button again, you move to setup. Selecting the menu button again, you move to advanced, and then back to sonar. So let's adjust the sensitivity that is displayed on the screen. So here, the depth and definition of this is what we're going to be changing. So we're going to hit the menu button. And in the sonar tab, we're going to go to sensitivity. This is currently on auto. And then we can select 100%. And it goes all the way down. to 1%. And as we can see with 1%, there's a lot less contour and busyness within the bottom here, so it's really just projecting on what's on the top. And then to replace it back to the auto section or whatever sensitivity you'd like, just increase on the arrow tab there. So this unit gives you the ability to adjust the depth scale over here on the right. To access this feature, click the menu button down here. Make sure that the screen is labeled as sonar, and then go down to depth range, which is the second selection. Using either the right or the left arrow keys, you can go from 0 to 10, all the way up to 0 to 1500, and then after that you have auto. Select the escape button, and then your setting is saved. And if you want to change it, go back and then make your manual selection there. You have the availability to set your upper and your lower limits on your depth. So to access that feature, we're going to click the menu button. We're going to make sure that it's labeled sonar, and then go down until it states upper limit. So the upper limit currently is set at 0. You use the right or the left arrow keys, and then you're able to select what your limit is. And you can do the same if you go down one selection down to the lower limit, and make that manual selection as well. Push escape, and then your settings are saved. Another feature that this unit offers is the fish target symbol and depth. So the fish target is labeled here, and it's just a little picture of a fish, and then there's also smaller and larger images trying to depict kind of the size of fish that you're looking at. And then the numbers up top are the depth that they're located at. You can turn this on or off, so go to the menu button here, and then make sure you're in the sonar selection, and then come down to fish symbols and depth. All the way to the left, everything is off, and if you exit out of the menu here, you can see that the fish are actually displayed as little swirls in the water suspended up from the ground here. So to access it again, go back to your menu selection, and then you can choose to have the fish symbols on with no depth reading, or the fish symbols with the depth reading. And then those are your selections you have available for the fish and depth. So there is a depth cursor feature, which provides a horizontal line with a box, and then the exact depth that that line is at. And it'll allow you to kind of pinpoint the exact location of something depth-wise. So you just go to your menu by selecting the menu button here, make sure you're in sonar, and then go down to the depth cursor. And then you can select on or off. And then once that depth cursor is on, you can then manually move it up or down with the up or down arrows here. So that fish is right around the 30 mark. You can try to pinpoint it a little better, prospecting for different locations depth-wise. So to adjust the backlight for your display, you're going to push the menu button once, pulling up the menu window, push it again to bring it over to setup. So there's another tab over to the right, and it's setup. Then to adjust the backlight, you either increase or decrease by moving the arrow keys here. So this will go down to 10%, and then it will go all the way up to 100%. And then push escape to exit, and then save your setting. To adjust the alarm and different tone, volume of the unit itself, select the menu button here on the left. Select it again to move that tab over to setup. Go down to volume, you can select between either off, low, medium, or high. And then select the escape button to save your setting. To modify your units of measurement, select the menu button here. Select it again to move the tab over to setup. Scroll down to units, and then your unit selections you have are meters Celsius, meters Fahrenheit, feet Celsius, and feet Fahrenheit. And then click escape to save your setting. So to adjust the scroll setting, which is viewing the features moving from right to left, you go to the menu option here, select menu again, move down to the chart speed, and you can increase and decrease from 100% all the way down to 10%. As you can see, your features are increasing in speed from right to left. Down to 10%. Back to 50. Click escape to save your setting. This unit gives you the availability for an audible noise or notification at the presence of fish. So in order to select this setting, you click the menu option once, click it again to get to setup, and then use your cursor to scroll down to fish alarm. Currently it is set off. You can select between either large fish notification, large and medium fish notification, or large, medium, and small fish notification. Once you find your desired setting, click escape to set that as your current setting. To set your shallow water alarm, click the menu option here, click it again to go to setup, and then use your cursor to go down to your depth. So you can select to either have it off 3 feet and then all the way up, to 99 feet. Once you've made your selection, click escape to save that setting. So if you want to have a battery alarm for when your battery gets to a specific voltage level, select the menu option once, select it again to get to setup, then use your arrow cursor to move down until you reach the battery alarm. Currently it's set off. Use the right or left side arrows to move between either 4 volts all the way up to 6 volts. And what that'll do is once it reaches down to that level, it'll give you an alarm stating that it's time to change the batteries. To save your selection, click escape, and then your option is saved. To select the transparency that you see on the menu options and then also from these digital readouts, select the menu option once and then twice again to get to setup, and then use the arrow key to move down to the transparency level. Currently it's at 0, and you can see that the fish or other pieces of the contour at the bottom there completely disappear once it hits that menu. So you can work yourself from 0 all the way up to 70%, then showing majority transparency. To save your setting, click escape. This unit gives you the availability to adjust for the keel offset. The keel offset feature is used to adjust the depth readings displayed by the device to compensate for the depth of the water required for your vessel to operate. So that's typically referred to as the vessel's draft. For example, if your boat's draft is 3 feet or 1 meter, the keel offset feature should be set to 3 feet. The device will then subtract that 3 feet from the actual depth reading displayed, and then that will give you your accurate reading. So if the water, for example, is 5 feet, and the keel offset is set to 3 feet, then the depth that will be displayed will be 2 feet. So in order to get to that feature, you select the menu option once, twice, and then a third time to get to advanced. And then it'll show you the keel offset. I can choose from off to partial increments in a foot, all the way up to 9 feet. Once you're through with your selection, push escape to save. So to adjust the color scheme of the unit itself, there's 3 different options you can choose from. You can choose the white background, which is displayed here. There's a blue background, and then there's also a grayscale. So to get to that option, you click the menu option once, twice, and then a third time. Move down to sonar chart. You can choose between, again, the white, the blue, and then the grayscale, which is labeled as being the best battery saving mode available for the unit. Once you're done with your selection, click escape and save your selection. This unit has a surface clarity option, which will allow you to adjust and remove surface noise, as an example, algae. So to get to that setting, you click the menu option once, twice, and then a third time. And then you move down to surface clarity. Currently it's off. You have low, medium, or high selections. Once you've selected the one you would like, click escape and save your setting. This unit also has a setting labeled as noise rejection. So what this does is it evaluates the effects of like the boat speed, water conditions, and the interface itself, and can automatically filter out the clutter that all that can provide into the reading, giving you false readings, therefore giving you more of an accurate depiction of what's going on in the water. So in order to get to this setting, you click the menu 3 times, getting you over to the noise rejection setting. You can choose from either off, low, medium, or high. Once you've selected your option, click escape to save. A couple points on housekeeping that the manual goes over is to clean the sonar and then the cable itself with clean, fresh water before storage. Don't submerge the unit itself or pour or spray cleaners onto it. If you need to get anything off of it, then use like a damp washcloth or a paper towel and wipe that off and then dry it afterwards. If you're storing this for a long period of time or really storing it at all, to prevent any like battery leakage or corrosion, remove the batteries from the unit itself. Try to store the fish finder itself in a dry, cool place, never exceeding the temperatures of 120 degrees. Extreme temperatures can have the possibility of damaging the unit itself. So this company also offers 24-hour technical support that's available on HawkeyeElectronics.com. You can also reach their one-on-one support through an email service, which is customerservice@norcrossmarine.com. Norcross spelled N-O-R-C-R-O-S-S, and then marine.com. So thanks for watching the video. Hopefully that goes over different aspects that you're looking for. Again, we're going to try to do both a broken up version of this video, so that way you don't have to flip through all of the entirety of the video to try to figure out which setting you want. We'll post those individually so that you have a quick reference for the option that you're looking to use. This video does not work in place of the manual. It does go over it, however. Please review the manual in full before using, because there's a lot of good content in there. If there's ever anything else that you guys want reviewed, go ahead and drop a comment below, and we'll look through that and try to get our hands on it. Thanks for watching Somewhat Mediocre Outdoors. This is the Hawkeye FishTrax Fish Finder, the 1C. See you guys next time.